Yaran yilla domoro kadiyata.
Boy, janno CK's restaurant.
Sa nako be ninna dimbal. Nimba domoro kala janno.
Domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije. Luntan during tamala abeka domoro kijani. Adi manda wala de. Teka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa. E ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery. Iko fanan be kalele. Badde lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo pendin lon dunia kono domoro betama nyillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domola jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nako sa futandi
oto sa nako be mu CK's restaurant
ndaba nan janna mu yat ni manje dorom bijam
aban
CK's restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with with security posts and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in.
Musa.
Na.
Ang para talaga tama so.
Ay, kita marso.
De paso.
Ayo. Do ni muda.
Musa ka rin yung ate sila de.
Kema fula sila muna.
Tulo banta le mano banda.
Pari man sene sofun dai ni mano bande sa fonje.
Kilo le bota.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam ba.
Bare.
Wa ko do ki yana ne yuna ya moy.
Min to yona. Mansara. Itu nata la. Yaja. Ngamano sammanang ngatulo samman. Bismillah.
Na? Na ñu manu diatal ko.
Yalo ni mano wara demen. Jona biro ngay tawlet. Ngata ko do kama demen. Man façon fula wala beje. Kilo talul tabeje, kilo monni lul tabeje. Hani duuli no beje. Ni tale ko do kama. Ni lefta ko do les ko do ta inaita. Na diate fene si mano le sanjani tulol ni hani ñi fongoñi alkawme to wabul kawme fo kan diringle ni leminato. Ngabo ndeje.
Yu na la ka ñu be sama.
Itu la ka ñu be sama na. Yaje.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm in London that can help you with all aspects of your legal work. If you are looking at immigrating to the United Kingdom, Stewart & Co. can help you to set up business, buy houses in the UK, and will deal with all your legal works from start to finish.
For all your general immigration work, we can help you with that as well. If you're applying for any form of visa, whether student visas, settlement visas, marriage visas, or a child wanting to come to the United Kingdom to settle with the family, we can help you to achieve your goals.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm specializing in conveyancing, immigration, litigation, family law, personal injury, licensing, no win, no fee. Contact us today at www.sk-solicitors.com.
yara ñilla domoro ka diaten
boy jannon sikes restaurant
e sa nakko be ni na dimbal nimbe domoro kala janno
domoro seneyata adiyata topotoro fanan kendema bije luntan during tamala abeka domoro ki janni adi manda wala de te ka we bijele anim fanan ka fadi jang ikono e fa e ka fa minne ko pastry anim bakery iko fanan be kalele ba de lomba conference lomba workshop lomba ye fo fendin lon dunia kono domoro betama ñillom international o toda number 1
amanke ba domola jandama
e sa domo jang is atariya
wo mu kubandi
sa nakko sa futandi
e oto sa nakko be mu sikes restaurant
ndafa na janna mu yat ni manje do mbijam
aban
CK's Restaurant, known for best quality food and customer satisfaction.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed,
welcome back, everybody, from the lunch break. Council, if we are ready to continue, please proceed. Thank you.
Welcome back, Professor Saine. I hope you have enjoyed TRRC CHEP.
Yes, it was
Benetton.
good. It was good, thank you.
You can come again.
Okay, I will. I will.
Wonderful. Good. So we have two more topics to cover. One is, in fact, both topics were suggested by yourself. And one is, why did direct perpetrators engage in the sort of torture, execution, and other rights violations and abuses they admitted to having committed against their fellow officers and civilians? Interesting question. And the other one is the factors that caused Yahya Jammeh to fall. I was thinking that we would do the first one.
Okay.
And then we skip the last one.
Okay.
It would be in the report. Those who are interested can read it. But then we would look at your concluding remarks in the report, which you provided. But after that, we would give you an opportunity to summarize the report in a language you are most comfortable in, one of the local languages you're most comfortable in. I leave it to you to choose which or how you would organize that.
Okay.
And thereafter, we would give you an opportunity to make your final remarks. Is that a good way to proceed?
Yes, indeed, as we discussed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Now, kindly take us through your observations regarding the question, why did the perpetrators engage in this sort of torture, execution, and other rights violations and abuses they admitted to having committed against their fellow officers and civilians?
Thank you, Lead Counsel. Following the very interesting questions, and sometimes very difficult questions that you posed, I thought it necessary to maybe spend some time, given the TRRC proceedings and the hearings, to provide some kind of a framework that would help us understand why an Alhaji Martin, Sabali, or Kanyi would do the things that they did. And one way of approaching this question was to introduce another concept, which I call militarization or militarization.
All this is not necessarily to absolve them of responsibility,
yes, no,
but just to provide a theoretical framework,
yes,
or a lens,
yes,
through which we can look at
yes,
them and understand why they did what they did.
Absolutely, Counsel. In fact, in my remarks later on, I suggest that they take personal responsibility for the atrocities that they committed. It is in no ways a means to rationalize or justify what they had committed. Thank you for reminding me of that, Counsel. So what I'm trying to do in this subsection is to look at the underlying motivations for their atrocious actions against their peers and higher-ups. So I introduced the concept of militarization. It goes without saying that since 1994 to 2016, Gambia had at one time or the other been ruled by a military dictatorship. Even following the transition in 1996, Gambia still maintained or retained some of the most odious elements, including the decrees that kept Yahya Jammeh in position. So our society was deeply militarized. The language also changed. Political opponents became enemies. And this kind of thinking, militarization in other words, was also emblematic in the actions of the junglers, the black, and so forth and so on. What does it mean, basically?
But also emblematic in Jammeh himself. The first thing he did was ban political opposition.
Yes, that was emblematic of that too. But now since we're talking about Elijah Martin and Kanye and the others, I decided to reintroduce the notion of militarization. Militarization, to define it simply, is a shift in personnel, institutional and societal values. When you have a psychological shift in your mind, which leads you to believe that you can solve problems not through peaceful means, but military means, then you have gone through a major psychological shift. It is a value system that basically prioritizes the use of legal and lethal force. What I'm also suggesting is that militarization permeates the entire security sector apparatus. But more damaging, it also infiltrated civil society. And it is fascinating that even under the most egregious violations of human rights, under Jammeh, some people still yearn for his return to the country. To me, that is symptomatic of an internalized militarization complex that makes you believe that continued repression and violation of your rights, including killings, is preferable to what we have today.
Reminiscent of Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes. In so many ways at a more general level. I also suggest in the paper, in addition to the values and attitudes of change and changes Militarization also involves tactical, operational, strategic shifts within organizations, in the military and amongst the military brass, the rank and file, and so forth and so on. Over time, they became socialized and they embody these ideals, that force is preferable to the resolution of conflict through peaceful means. It is also an ideology that frames, as I said, and prioritizes the use of force. There's also the notion of groupthink. When you are in an organization, so as not to be isolated or left out, you tend to subscribe to the norms and the mores of those institutions. And groups are very quick to isolate, punish individuals who do not subscribe to those norms, even when individuals believe that they should not be engaging in such wanton acts of violence. In a nutshell, what I'm suggesting is these institutions and these individuals in particular operated within a structure, an ideological structure, a value structure that propelled them and pushed them to behave the ways that they did. Why would, for instance, a young woman in the middle of Tel Aviv strap herself with bombs and detonate in the downtown of Tel Aviv? She had been systematically indoctrinated. She had come to internalize the values, especially over the military and militarization. They act, for the most part, unquestioningly because they want to curry favor, because they get rewards, they want to be promoted, or just want to satisfy the higher-ups. I believe this is the context to understand Elijah Martin, Elijah Kanye, and a host of others. In fact, as we said earlier, they may engage in these acts of violence with the presumption that they are doing it for the nation, in protection of the nation, while in actual fact, it is in part the indoctrination that they went through that make them behave that the way they do. Do they feel remorse? Many of them do. But at some point in the execution of these duties or these this really horrendous crimes, it is possible that some of them may step outside of themselves. They may step outside of themselves. In fact, if you were to compare the personality types before and after, many of them would believe that they are different from those executing those acts of violence. In sum, this is the context, the psychological context, the operational code that we must look at in order to understand these acts of violence. They are training in the military, the hierarchy in the military, which is obey and command. I mean, yes, you have to obey and complain, like was at Armitage. And I'm digging the commissioner there, the chairman. So these are some of the structural as well as the hierarchical issues that make it possible for such acts to happen. Remember that these are also tightly knit organizations. It is a fraternity. they, for the most part, think alike. There are perks and rewards in these acts of violence. And because they are so insulated from civilian control and oversight, they can protect themselves and protect their members from prosecution. So in a nutshell, Council, this may be the context.
The language, you talked about it. The language they sometimes use, words like enemy, like war, like others, and so forth.
Yes.
Tends to create a particular mindset
Absolutely.
in them. And that leads to commission of some of these violations, as you were. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. That the language itself changes, which in many ways is a reflection of the change in mentality. Ordinarily, it is a war against crime. It is a war against drugs. It is a war against criminals. Everything is militarized for the most part. And when the language changes, it is symptomatic of a change in thinking.
For the purposes of this commission, we have had language as follows. Sana Sabali said those captured November 11 were the enemy.
Yes.
Edward Singate also called them enemy. That, well, if you're captured in war, you expect to be tortured.
Exactly.
That's what we are trained to do. If you're captured by the enemy, you're tortured. This is the mindset.
This is the mindset, exactly. In fact, I was thinking about those examples as well. And you see, it gives them psychological comfort. If you're branded enemy, your rights are totally taken away. And whatever actions they take in their elimination is justified by the language and the ideology that underpins it. So ideologies can be very important and very dangerous. By naming somebody a terrorist, by naming somebody a cockroach, you dehumanize them. And once you dehumanize them, then you have the psychological preparation to do unto them whatever that you wish.
You used another interesting example here. You said in paragraph 134, Alaji Kani, Alaji Martin, and others like them were trained and socialized in a hierarchical, regimented, and deeply patriarchal organization, mandated to defend the homeland through the use of deadly force when necessary. It follows that violations of rights by Alaji Martin against officers or citizens turned enemy were a perceived duty but performed on behalf of Yahya Jammeh, who was the embodiment of the nation and officers under whom he served. We have heard Martin say that their mantra was Oga before God. That betrays, that shows exactly what you are saying here.
Absolutely, Counsel. Absolutely.
It's Oga before God. Another interesting thing you raise in paragraph 133 is the culture of silence being imbued in them as part of their modus operandi.
Yes.
Nobody would talk about it.
They wouldn't talk or report these violations of human rights. They keep it under wraps until they are discovered. And I think I want to also introduce another element that reinforces or buttresses this mindset. Military organizations are typically male-dominated, as in other parts of society, but more so than the than in the military. So that there is an embedded element of patriarchy, that is, the domination of men by women in society is replicated within military institutions. You spill blood, it is the men that spill blood for the most part. It is the men who defend the nation. So that there is, in fact, a dominant and a subordinate social relationship. And it not only reinforces those dominant subordinate relationships within the military, but those are also relationships that permeate the entire society. So, in a sense, Council, Commissioners, all this converge to propel these individuals to engage in the kinds of activities that they did.
How about the notion of wannabe, wanting to belong to that select group of mature men? Those who are strong and capable.
You are a man, your rite of passage, in other words, is to have killed. Your rite of passage is to have killed or maimed. Then the fear would have been taken away. Thereafter, you will do almost anything without fear or favor.
But also this false sense of importance, like being made to believe that you, these killers, are the chosen few. You are the people who can decide whether a person lives or dies.
It's a power.
So you think you are that elite group, like the junglers would think they were superstars. These are the ones who are selected to.
It's all part of the socialization. It's all probably a part of the groupthink. And these are values that you are the best. You're the most highly trained. You can take on anything. And of course, with the reward system that comes along with it. After an operation, of course, they are rewarded with not only money, but other things.
Such as?
Well, I've been told alcohol, lots of money for sure, long breaks to recuperate from their misery, and certainly and so forth and so on.
That's interesting. But what is their response to consciousness of guilt? That I did this. Do they feel remorseful at all? Or do they have a system of internalizing it and denying it, a system of denial?
I think both. I want to recall in particular the testimony of Alhaji Kani. Even though Alhaji committed all those horrendous crimes, alcohol became his rescue. He said here that he drank a lot. He felt bad. He felt so bad, he felt alienated from his society.
For others, it was prayers.
Prayers too, and he prayed too. And for others, it could include anything really, as a means of escape. So what I'm saying is, the guilt is there, and they assuage the guilt using different means that works for them. And it could lead to depression. Many of them are so angry with themselves that they in fact inflict the pain upon themselves. Some of them become suicidal. Some of them may hurt themselves or undertake highly risky, life-threatening activities in an effort to assuage the guilt and pain. So they are also deeply traumatized as individuals.
Thank you very much, Professor Saine, for that. Now let's move on to your concluding remarks.
Okay.
Starting from paragraph 144. It's quite short and punchy.
Yes.
You may read them out.
You may read it out. Concluding remarks. Political, legal, economic, and social development in the Gambia following the junior officer-led coup in 1994 witnessed a disturbing human rights deficit amid deepening poverty. Soldier-turned-President Yahya Jammeh had ruled the country with an iron fist through repressive decrees, a rubber-stamped National Assembly, and a hand-picked cadre of compromised Nigerian and Gambian judges. Jammeh systematically usurped traditional roles and legally relegated to he usurped roles traditionally relegated to organs and branches of the state, and in their place, he instituted a national security vampire state, whose primary roles were to concentrate power as well as resources around him and the military security elite. The other role of this state was repression, both formally and through clandestine groups, like the junglers. In the end, Jammeh succeeded in muzzling the press, silencing journalists, the Gambia Bar Association, moribund trade unions, and social movements. Growing militarization of Gambian society, that is, a shift in personal, institutional values, and an ideology in which force was perceived as the solution to security and other political challenges, intensified. The resulting blurring of mandates and jurisdictions between the army and the police became fertile ground for atrocious human rights violations, which impacted several generations or baskets of human rights. Cultural, religious values converged with Jammeh's own occult impulses to construct himself as invincible. It inspired a cult-like aura and following. It is in this context that perpetrators of rights violations, like Elijah Kanye, Elijah Martin, specifically, the junglers generally, must be situated and their actions analyzed to make sense of these atrocities. As I said, and as you said earlier, Counsel, this is not to rationalize their atrocities, but to shed light while drawing on a growing scholarly literature to make sense of these individuals and these clandestine groups. While each perpetrator must be viewed and analyzed as unique and must take responsibility for their actions, many in a similar situation could or would have committed similar atrocities. A smaller number yet would not. Thank you, Counsel.
And thus, Jammeh's template to become dictator in Gambia was, correct me if I'm wrong, silence the media.
Yes.
Silence the Bar Association. Ban politicians. Remove them from the political scene. Control the army through fear and elimination. Outlaw demonstrations. Those who demonstrated would go to jail. Controlled businesses, driving some away from business. Reshaped the civil service into a tribal enclave. Put fear in people through the NIA and security agencies. Elimination of political opponents and use of the junglers to send people 6 feet deep, or maybe into a well in some other country. Creation of an aura of supernatural powers through the fake HIV/AIDS treatments and others, and propaganda machinery that painted him as the king.
Absolutely.
You agree? And then rubber stamp National Assembly to give things some semblance of legality. That was Yahya Jammeh.
Yes.
How would you suggest that he be remembered in Gambian history?
Yahya Jammeh was an anomaly in so many ways. He was a brilliant strategist. Jammeh embodied a level of intelligence, in my view, that was similar to that of notorious dictators and killers, including Idi Amin, even to the degree of Hitler, to some degree, at a smaller scale. That's the kind and the part of Yahya Jammeh we need to understand. And he did all of this to gain power, to control it, and to ensure that he wasn't threatened in the process. I think he also has another part of him, with all the sinister tendencies he had. There was a human side to Yahya Jammeh. He was adept, culturally adept person. He could even make or crack a joke. He appreciated the music. He appreciated the culture, which he sometimes used in a way that was disastrous to those who engaged in it. At the end of the day, he did some good things for the country. I think he awakened the Gambian consciousness. It was a rude awakening in that after Yahya Jammeh, I don't believe a leader like him can emerge in this country.
Why do you say that? Is it because we allowed power to be so sweet that he couldn't let go? Or was it because of our just utter silence?
I think the utter silence more than anything. I think we were complicit in what Jammeh did, directly and indirectly. Many stood on the sidelines. They didn't want to be involved. And in doing so, they further emboldened Yahya Jammeh to become the dictator he was. His level of violence escalated over time, ultimately resulting in the executions in 2012. He was going to up the ante in an effort to ensure that he remained in power at whatever cost. But as I was saying earlier, there was a good side to him.
In a sense, you're saying this is the man who would go to any extent just to maintain himself in power.
Yes.
Even if it meant killing his own people.
Yes.
That's the way he should be remembered in Gambian history.
I think we should remember him that way.
Good. Thank you very much. Could you, for the benefit of some of our listeners, give us a brief summary of the report in the languages you most comfortable?
Okay.
And feel free to mix it any which way you want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's a tall order, but I will try. Assalamu alaikum, mbokk yi maa ngi leen di nuyu yéen ñëpp
Oops. I understand that there should be changes in the translator's booth, in the interpreter's booth. Yeah. Are we okay now? Okay, please proceed, Professor.
Okay, should I start over?
My greetings to every single person, both name and surname.
Oops, okay, sorry. I forgot. We have to have it in English. Yeah.
Okay.
Extending all of my gratitude to all of you. Thanks to all of you for these 2 days sitting here. The reason for my coming to this sitting, the reason is that I wanted to talk to the nation. What I was told to do was to use my knowledge and my know-how to come and explain what has happened here, what has transpired in this nation. When Jawara was here, may Allah have mercy on him. And when Yaya Jammeh came, until when he left here, that was the reason for my being here. In these 2 days, I have talked to the nation, showing the nation what and how Yaya Jammeh, how he got to take the government of this country,
not Gambians,
and imposed something on the Gambians. Steal our resources, kill people, and kill our relatives, and left something behind which you know has to be explained fully. And that is before people have mercy on it. It will take a long time before people What I am appealing to people is that let's all come together and unite. Let's not forget what has happened here. And we should try by all means that this should never occur again in this nation. Fellow Gambians, greetings to all of you. Thank you very much. Since I came here,
last 2 days,
these last 2 days, I'm doing a job here. I'm extending my thanks and gratitude to all of you. My Mandinka is not quite clear, but I extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to all of you. Sometime, if I come back again, we will discuss. I'll talk to you to tell you that what happened in this country is very bad, ugly. We should all get up and fight
to make sure
so that no occurrence of this kind will ever happen in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll hand over the floor to the chair for further questions, and also for you to be given the opportunity to say your closing remarks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Extraordinary 2 days. We are very grateful to you appreciate your coming to enlighten us on what really transpired in this country and the personality of individuals and institutions that were here for 22 years. Before I turn to the commissioners for any questions they may have, just one small question from me, and that is the role of the military in constitutional and governance structures. What lesson should we in Gambia, or countries like Gambia going through transition, learn or avoid in looking at these structures of governance and the constitution, as I mentioned earlier? If you look at examples of Pakistan and Myanmar. Myanmar, it is a constitutional requirement that the military be represented in parliament. They have a deciding vote in parliament. They insist on military being part of the structure.
Yes.
Pakistan, I'm not sure of the constitution, but they have a similar important and sometimes they think indispensable role for the military. And I wonder if you want to just comment on those two, what we should avoid in having the military participate in that. Then I'll come back with a second short question.
Thank you, Chairman Sise. That is clearly a very important question. I think it is a very slippery slope when you include members of the military into structures of governance. At the same time, it could be a boon to stability and order within society and a country. It is another mechanism used by leaders to manage and control the military. In works that I have done in the past, that is a mechanism that is used by many countries, as you have suggested. It to some degree insulates regimes from possible coup d'etats because the military are just as invested as their civilian colleagues in maintaining the status quo. The third, though, may come, as in Thailand and other places. It is the junior officers that may sometimes effect a coup. But if you're able to disperse the military personnel and deploy them in the civil service and other parts of the diplomatic service, that may be a possibility, that may be a means of diluting the potential power of the military. And this has been practiced in some other places. Give the young lieutenants, give them scholarships to go study history, political science. Take them to their academies and teach them about human rights would be another. So while the military, therefore, can be a threat to democracy, if managed well, reformed, restructured, trained, professionalized, it could be a boon for national development and stability.
Thank you very much. My second point is really more of an anecdote on relating to the mindset and some of the things that we heard here from our military witnesses, and that is that the military has a role or even a responsibility, perhaps even a moral duty to overthrow a government that they didn't like, or they think that they would do a better job in running the country. When Sani Abacha died suddenly in Nigeria, the Nigerian government, the structures there, they were going through some transition. The Secretary General of the UN at that time, Kofi Annan, went with him to spend 4 days in Abuja talking to all Nigerian stakeholders to tell them that the country should go back quickly to civilian rule. One of the interlocutors that he had was Yakubu Gowon, the leader of Nigeria, a military leader, participated in the first coup, but the leader during the Civil War. Gowon came, there were 3 of us there, SG, Gowon and myself. For 3 hours we were going through reviewing the situation in Nigeria. The one thing that was absolutely clear to us was Gowon saying that, Secretary General, we made a big mistake. Our share of it, it's a whole lot. And that was that in '66, he said we should not have been involved in overthrowing the government and bringing military rule in this country. Military guy not to handle civilian situations like that. And that hasn't changed. The messing up of the country started from there. Yes, some can turn around and say, well, of course, he's had his day. He was overthrown as well, and he went out and studied and came back and established a think tank here in Nigeria. He probably can turn around and start lamenting about what happened in Nigeria. But it was very clear that the role of the military, as far as he was concerned, was not running countries, but providing security. It's just a brief anecdote on that one, that the military are not trained to do that. Nigeria, he said, was in a mess. I don't know if it's still in a mess. But the military in '66 thought that they could do a better job. The eastern region, western region, northern region, things were going bad, and therefore they turn around and say, well, we can do a better job. Let's get rid of these people and then go on.
You see, I think we academics are partly to blame for this consciousness or this idea that the military are better prepared, imbued with knowledge, to run a country. In the theorizing about the military in the 1950s and the 1960s, this was a popularly held view by this idea. But most of the major political scientists, American, European, African, felt that the military was best suited to delivering development and improvement in these countries. That's why you had in Turkey and Greece, in Argentina, in Chile, and a host of other places, you had the military coming in to basically rescue the dwindling economies of these nations. It was an utter failure. Only revise our theoretical postulations that in fact, empirically, the military was not suited to such governance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Just to end that point, when we left Abuja, the next stop on our way to London was Accra. Rawlings was around. Rawlings didn't like the idea of the Secretary General of the UN going to Nigeria
and telling
going back.
Boubacar,
Communications have to flow as fast as
head
the
of state
speed
at
of
that
light.
time,
Whatever.
for the soldiers to go back to the barracks.
Yes.
He spent almost an hour lecturing us about the dangers of military going back to the barracks. And as he put it, he said, the boys below, you don't. Yeah. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Commissioners,
Absolutely.
if you have any questions, we go ahead and do that. Commissioner Kinte, you have the floor.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Saine, I have experience is valid, but 4 or 5 words or phrases that are attributed to the failures and the atrocities or all the problems we had in this country. One of them is our culture of subservience. The other one is psychophancy. Another one is dogmatic indoctrination. Probably a last one is greed and corruption. If you would help to dilate in these things, in these 4 undesirable characteristics, it's likely going to sum a great deal of your lectures into a nutshell. Please, thank you.
Commissioner Kinte. I appreciate your kind words. I believe these are all embedded in our traditional cultures. Dogmatism, greed, corruption. In fact, in all of that is saying, harmi finko taka, fofla leke. We have an inbuilt cultural acceptance for corruption, which in turn breeds greed. And the way we bring about children, and we are all brought up well, I must say, subservience is preferred to questioning. And I do believe, Commissioner Kinte, that the reason why Yahya Jammeh stayed as long as he did was this culture of subservience and not challenging authority. I believe the education system, among other things, starting from our homes, must begin to teach our children respectfully to be assertive and to question authority. Otherwise, that subservience that you talk about would continue to hurt us in the long term. In sum, I believe we have